Killer is coming. Killer is coming. Killer is coming now. Welcome to Shriekfest presents Prom Night at the New Art Theater. Before we get started, I have a few quick announcements. In the event of a fire, emergency, or axe-wielding maniac, please be aware of the emergency exits beside me on the right and left. You can also use the exits you entered the theater through. If you parked in the pay lot that's on Idaho, right off of Sawtell, be aware that at exactly 2 a.m. they ticket that lot. It's a big ticket. If you are parked there, please move your car to a street spot or another lot before 2 a.m. gets here. Now, we're going to do some trivia. Those of you who've been here before know what we do. We'd like to give away great prizes to you guys. If you're the super fans, you know answers to these questions. If you follow the event page, you'll know the answers as well. Raise your hand and I'll do my best to get to whoever answers first. First question. Prom Night is not the only film from the summer of 1980 to feature a famous climactic decapitation scene. Who knows the other one?
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th is correct. Please come up. So for you, we have a Prom Night postcard signed by Paul Lynch. And the bootleg Prom Night Rare soundtrack, also provided by Paul Lynch. It's only available in Japan on vinyl, I believe, legally. All right, before I get to the next question, I'm going to also say something about, you saw the trailers that we just had. The Fog, the new 4K restoration of The Fog is coming here on October 26th. This is not a midnight, this is a full week run. For Halloween week, we are playing the 4K restoration of John Carpenter's The Fog. You'll have about 35 times to come see it, so please do. We're very excited to bring that to you. Okay, next question. During the making of Prom Night, Jamie Lee Curtis became romantically involved with which cast member? Anybody? Who did she date on the cast of Prom Night? Okay, I see you hand back there.
Leslie Nielsen.
Not Leslie Nielsen. That was her dad. See a hand there? No? Okay, I see a hand on the aisle.
Casey Stevens.
Casey Stevens is correct. Please come up. For you, we have another autographed postcard for Prom Night by Paul Lynch. We also have the holiday-themed horror novel, Turkey Day, written by a Shriekfest guy. Happens to be me. I hope you enjoy that. Get your holiday horror on. Okay, we got a few more excellent prizes here. So during the making of Prom Night, Jamie Lee Curtis became great friends with the actress Eddie Benton, who plays the mean girl Wendy in the film. Later on, the two would also appear in what film? I see a hand right there.
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2 is correct. To my knowledge, Jamie Lee Curtis asked her to come on board as a favor, and she's uncredited in the movie. However, she is in there briefly. You want to come up for your prize? Okay, you're really lucky tonight. First, we got the autographed Prom Night postcard signed by Paul Lynch. We have the rare bootleg soundtrack to Prom Night. And a signed shooting script for Prom Night signed by Paul Lynch. Thanks for playing. Okay, one more question, one more prize before we get to the Q&A. Last year, we played two different films here that starred Jamie Lee Curtis. Who knows what they are? All the way in the back.
Halloween 1 and 2.
Halloween and Halloween 2 is correct. Please come up for your prize. We love Jamie Lee Curtis here. She is, we're playing her midnights all the time. I'm sure The Fog and Prom Night will not be the only ones that we play this year. All right, for you, we have the Prom Night postcard signed by Paul Lynch. We have the bootleg soundtrack, and we have the signed shooting script for Prom Night. Please enjoy.
I will. Thank you.
And one more thing. This is a Shriekfest Presents show tonight. I wanted to let you all know really quickly, the future of horror, it's you guys. Submit your work to Shriekfest. The late deadline is coming up on July 1st. However, if you email them, they might give you an extension. Please check it out. Send your screenplays, your short films, your feature films to Shriekfest. It's a great starting ground for new filmmakers. We want you to scare us. So please get your films in by the deadline, July 1st. Now, I would like to introduce to the stage an incredible legendary director. He's been working in the industry for many years and has done dozens of films, and so many, like Humongous is a favorite, Murder by Night, about the Clawhammer Killer, Bullies, so many more. And he's done so much horror and genre television as well, which you may not be aware of, including The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, Ray Bradbury Theater, Sliders, FX the series, Poltergeist, The Legacy, and his list goes on and on and on. Incredible work. Please welcome to the stage tonight the director of Prom Night, Paul Lynch. Did you get the throne tonight?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. It was 39 years ago that I started this thing, and it keeps going. Nothing keeps going for 39 years, I mean, that I know of. I mean, maybe Lawrence of Arabia. But thank you so much for coming out and being part of this. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Anything at all.
I will start with a few questions for you before we get to the audience. First, I want to know, so this came a few years after Halloween, although you were shooting quicker before then. I'm curious, why did you pick Prom Night as your theme day? How did that come about to tie a slasher into that?
It was a fluke. I'd made a couple of, which I think are pretty good movies, about people. They were just people pictures in Canada. And they had done pretty well in Canada. They didn't lose any money, but they didn't really, open any doors. So I had seen Halloween, and I was very impressed. I'd also seen Wes Craven's films, particularly the Last House on the Left. And I thought, maybe there's something in that. So I came up with a concept, which is what he was asking you guys to do, to submit to Screenfest, for something called Don't See the Doctor. And having been previously in advertising, I did a poster for it, because that's how you do it back then. The producers would do a poster and take it in. So I did this poster, Don't See the Doctor, and it had this, what I thought at the time was a great tagline: what happens if your gynecologist cracks? So I thought, well, I'll take it to the guys who did Halloween. So I go in, and I see this terrific guy, Erwin Yablans, and he says, no, the women wouldn't go. Have you got something in the way of because he'd done Halloween, a holiday, some kind of a holiday movie. So thinking on my feet, I said, Thanksgiving. He said, no, just tasteful. He said, I'm leaving town, go away, think about it, and get back to me. So I said, okay. So when I first come to LA, when I first came down in the early 70s, I stayed at a place on Sunset, called the Sunset Doheny. It's gone now, it was a motel. And as I was driving back from his office, I passed it, and on the roof was a sign, an ad, that said, after 6 formals for your prom night. And I thought, well, that's kind of a holiday. Prom is nice, night is scary. Maybe I should work with that. So I went in and I started working on an outline, but before I could get back to him, I was circumvented by 2 Canadian producers who had huge success doing family pictures and wanted to do something different, and they said, we'll do it. And away we went, 39 years ago.
And Prom has never been the same.
Yeah, and it was a piece of luck, from seeing that sign to all the way through to finding a young guy who was a terrific writer. And what I was originally pitching, I figured I got to go back to Erwin, was an outline, and he did a detailed 26-page outline based on what he did as a kid, which was the game which opens the picture. And it was quite wonderful. And then, once we started working on it, Bill Gray, who had worked with me before, came in and did the screenplay, and together they ended up with what basically was their work. Yeah, I showed up, but anybody who tells you that, and I grew up on the auteur theory, but that the director is everything, nah, the writer is everything, and it's coming to fruition now. That's just a fact.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about, one of my absolute favorite things about this movie, and I'm really into horror films and the suspense and the terror and everything, the body count, I love all of that stuff. But one thing in particular about this film, which makes it the most special thing to me, is the dance sequence in the middle of the film. It is such a special, transcendent piece of the movie that goes beyond horror, that just is such a joyful, elaborate, unexpected but sweet moment, this dancing. I'm kind of curious how you went about getting that whole thing choreographed and how long that took.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm a fan of disco, still am. I think it's fabulous music. In fact, it's faded, except in Ibiza, where they still have it. But it's never been replaced by anything as optimistic and as up and as driving. And I would drive around and listen to it. And I thought, this is going to be great music for this film. Now, unfortunately, just as I finished the film, it went out of style. But I still love the kind of music that we had in it. My sister is a dancer and a choreographer, and she came in and worked with the actors to work out the dance sequence, which actually, quite honestly, is a homage, or theft if you wanted, from the John Travolta movie. But I was so impressed with what Badham did there, I thought, I've got to be able to do a version of it myself. And that's what we did. And we had a real problem because we shot it in Toronto. And they just to get the financing, they had to push right up until 1 week before school opened. So we had a week to get in and do the school shots and to do the dance sequence. And so we had to do it pretty quickly. But luckily, we had this crew who had never really worked in the movies. If there was ever an example of go out and make a film, there was no industry in Canada, really. And the crews that were there, because it had just started up, were working. So we had to find people from everywhere to come in and do it, just anything. And there was a guy who came in who was the grip, who pushed the dolly. And as far as I know, he'd never pushed a dolly in his life, but somehow he managed to do it in doing a 360. And then he disappeared. And years later, I'm doing Xena, and a guy comes up to me and says, "Hi, thank you. I've never been here before, but who are you? You started me in the business." I'm trying to think, who is it? "I was unemployed, and you gave me a job pushing a dolly on prom night. And ever since I've had a career, now I'm the senior grip." I thought, wow, that's fabulous. But that's how it was all put together, because there weren't pro people, but they all somehow, maybe the music inspired them, had fun, and that's why we got the sequence. And I just thought it would be fun in the middle of it, because the music is so great.
It is. It's great music, and even though the scene is somewhat dated, it's a lot more exciting. Like, it's not nearly as dated as watching the Carrie prom scene. For me, the disco scene in Prom Night still feels more relevant, that dance music, compared to what they had in Carrie. So for me, it still really works. But
I had, strangely enough, everybody, including Bill Gray, who wrote it, said that I'd seen Carrie. I never had. I'd seen Brian De Palma's pictures, but I'd never seen Carrie before this. And yet, after it, I saw it, and there's a similarity. But I had honestly never seen Carrie before I made the picture. But there is one thing to watch for, which is the magic of movies, and the magic of, if you're in this business, what you pray and hope for, is that when Jamie Lee discovers who the killer is, I had done it with a camera, but then the editor took a piece of music and just put it at the head of the scene. There was no intent, he just wanted to fill it for a screening. When that piece of music hit that picture, magic happened. And to this day, I don't know how it is, and you'll see what I mean when you watch it. And it was just by accident. And then we went back, because he just got music from another film, and borrowed that piece of music and rescored it ourselves. And this you'll see is movie magic, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's nice.
And before I open this up to some audience questions, I do want to ask you just a bit about Jamie Lee Curtis. You got her at such an excellent part at the beginning of her career, and she really capitalizes on the good girl persona that she had established in Halloween, although she was a good girl, but she was more of a wild, modern teenager in Prom Night. And I'm just curious how it was working with her at this early stage of her career, in her first non-American film.
Well, you all know her now as a mother, but she was the Jennifer Lawrence of her time. She was brilliant. We were rehearsing once in the high school, and Leslie Nielsen came out of the classroom and bumped into me and said, "We're running lines and Jamie's rewriting it. She's brilliant." And he was right, she was. She begged to do it. I mean, this is unbelievable luck. She'd been in Halloween, but back then, Halloween was nothing. It was just a B movie. Nobody thought of it as being any more than that, even though it was making a fortune for Irwin and his group. So her manager called up and said, "Could we come and see you?" So I said to the producer, who wanted a TV actress, as did I, because it was supposed to be like a thriller more than a horror film. And so we got one of the girls who had grown up and done a lot of TV movies in some TV series, and he was set on her. So I said, "Jamie Lee is interested in doing it." "Jamie Lee who?" "The girl from Halloween." "Oh yeah. Yeah, no, we don't want her." I said, "She'd like to come and talk to us." So finally he agreed. She came in and talked. And he was sort of impressed, because she was very impressive. But then he said, can you dance? Yes, I can. He said, you'll have to show us. So we take her to a dance, to a stage over here somewhere on La Cienega, and she actually dances because she really wanted the movie, and she got it, and she was the strength of that movie all the way through, and she was quite delightful. She was neurotic, but that's what you get if you get brilliance. You don't get one without the other. But other than that, she did a great job and was terrific in every way, and can't say enough. And then we surrounded her with a lot of local people, and that's what you get. But the producer really said, no, we want this TV girl. I said, look, she'd done this huge movie. Well, it's a B movie. Everybody thought that, because up to that time, there were only like maybe 6 major movies. The Hills Have Eyes, things like that. The rest was just like truly Z movies, the Don't Look in the Basement, etc. So there was no, cachet to it at all. And Peter saw at least the potential in going out with a prom movie, because people go to proms. And that's what he was basing it on. But we were lucky because we were one of the few that just came out at the right time. And as I said, it's been struck with luck all the way from day one up until here. I mean, I'm on the stage here 39 years later. That's pretty lucky for a movie. I think it's pretty good, but hey, what luck has this had?
And now we'd like to ask some audience questions, and feel free to also ask about Humongous or any of us other films. Yes, I see the hand there.
Shoot.
I just wanted to know more about the soundtrack and how many versions there really are officially out there, and on what formats.
The soundtrack was put together by this terrific composer and his partner. Carl Satur was the partner, and he was the music editor. And it was put out, and nothing happened in North America. But for some reason, the Japanese decided to put a record out, and a full long LP. So I don't quite know how, but I heard about this and I got a copy of it. And that's what I've made copies of, because a lot of people seem to like it, and I would get letters and requests. So I'm quite happy if anybody wants to email me to send you a copy of the music. But that was years ago, so nobody really cares over there. But nothing ever happened to it here at all. I don't know why they never thought to put it out here, because the first movie I ever did was a country western movie, and it got a release on A&M Records. So I don't know. Yeah.
Sort of with horror back in the late 70s, early 80s, Friday the 13th, Prom Night, April Fool's Day stuff. It kind of owned the whole business with being such a low budget. And without saying anything, having already seen Halloween H40 basically a couple months ago, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street being remade, what do you think about horror these days and how it's treated? And also specifically about Blumhouse, if you know anything.
Well, Blumhouse is kind of what Halloween started out to be. It was Erwin Yablans and his partner, whose name I can't pronounce. He was a Middle East guy and came from a wealthy family, and they teamed up and they did a few of those films, but it never continued because the Middle East guy got kind of bored, but Jason Blum has continued. It's gotten much more, Wes Craven films and Prom Night, and then going into bigger slasher films, were much more, I'm trying to think of the word to say, black and white. They were just right in your face. What's happened, strangely enough, is we've gone back to more like Repulsion, which was Polanski's picture in '68. We've gone back to that kind of thing, and in between you have a kind of weird hybrid with Liam Neeson running around trying to rescue girls and things. In its own way, it is a horror film. But they've all gotten much more. There's one out now about a family. I haven't seen it, but it's about a family and something goes awry with the Australian actress. And it's from what I've read, it strikes me it's more like that. There was the Oblagook or something, from Australia. There was certainly more towards Roman Polanski than let's say, a Halloween. And I think it's just that they were out there welcome. You've done it, you've made so many. They made so many pictures. Everybody jumped in after Friday the 13th and Prom Night and Halloween. They all jumped in and churned them out. There must have been 4 companies driving these things, and I think they just wore them out, so you have to go in a different direction. And that's what Jason Blum has discovered. But again, he got very lucky with that first picture, because it was sitting on the shelf for 2 years. DreamWorks picked it up, and they were going to put it out and remake it. The one with the people in the house. They made 6. Yeah, but
Which had
paranormal.
nothing to do with, he just fixed later. But, yeah.
What?
He had nothing to do with filming of it, he just fixed it later.
Yeah, no, but whatever. It was sitting on the shelf because they were going to remake it, and they didn't. And somebody had the brilliant idea to put it out around the universities and see what would happen, and it took off. There's been 6 sequels, and he's a smart guy. I mean, he's a real promoter. He knows what he's doing. And since then, he's had a lot of good pictures. But it's very hard to keep, given that they must have made, since I did Prom Night, 1,000 of these things, it's very hard to do something that's going to be a unique spin. I mean, it's just getting difficult. I mean, when they did the zombie pictures way back when, now you've got zombies on television day and night. So to do a zombie scare picture is somewhat difficult, I would think. So that's the big difference.
Thank you.
All right, question over here.
I'm just curious, what are some of your favorite movies that you haven't made that you enjoyed?
That I've seen?
Yeah, just some of your favorite movies. What do you?
Well, that's a good one. I think I go way back to when I was a little kid at 10 and saw basically the Fox Westerns. The Ferry to Hong Kong comes to mind. Then I moved up from there to Guns of Navarone, to Lolita, to The Of Chris Bile, storytelling movies basically, all with some kind of unique style to them. Certainly Polanski's pictures were terrific. Chinatown, things like that. Of recent, less so, although they've got another one coming out, and basically you have to go in, even if you make movies to a theater, you have to go in as an audience. You have to leave your background at the door and just sit and watch as an audience. And one of the most delightful movies was the ABBA movie. I thought it was terrific, and they've got a sequel coming out. And recently, the one that comes to mind is Straight Outta Compton, which was a sensational picture. No, I mean, come on, it was a great movie. I mean, it was, and one of the reasons it was great was based on fact. It's a true story. True stories will always override fiction. And I was stunned. And I also went in, I'm not a rap fan, I'm just not. But I was, scared. I think it was going to be rap. The rap music really worked. They did such a great job of integrating it that it was never bothersome at all. It just went with the movie. So I'm a big fan of it.
I want to see Paul Lynch's rap version of Prom Night. Any more questions before we, up in the back?
Did you see the direct sequel to Prom Night? And if you did, what did you think of it?
I thought I'm a lucky guy because they blew it. They had a chance to do something with it and they didn't, and I don't know why. They did it in a hotel. Now, yes, they don't have proms in high schools much anymore. They were just changing when I did Prom Night in the early 80s. But I thought they could have done a lot more with it in a hotel, because I've shot things in a hotel, and I don't know what went wrong. They had the rights. I think they knocked it off. They were doing several remakes at the time, and it just wasn't horrifying or anything to me. And I think the biggest problem was the leading lady didn't come close to Jamie, and somehow it came and went, and this one still is obviously here because you guys are here to enjoy it. So, and I must say, about 5 years ago, somehow rights change when you want to film, and these guys had the rights, and they put out Prom Night amongst 4 other horror films at Kmart for $10. And I saw it, and I picked it up and bought it, and I thought, well, that's nice, it's over, and what have you. Then these new guys come out, and they do the Blu-ray. And even I was stunned. I thought when I timed the original print that came out in 1980, it was great. Nothing compared to this. This was spectacular. And so anybody working in horror now is working with new technology, and they're very lucky, because the amount of stuff you can do, which I had to do on set and things like that, you can go far beyond it. And what they're doing is you can pull from all the comic book movies and things like that and use bits of that in today's movies, and you can do it for no money. It's a great starting ground for anybody, because you can do all this technology on your computer at home. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for anybody.
Just to let you all know, we are screening the new Synapse restoration tonight of Prom Night instead of a 35 print. We did locate kind of a worn print, but this restoration from Synapse is just so incredible. And it's never screened on the big screen before, and I think that's the absolute best way to see this movie, more colorful and artful than it's ever looked before, really. It's just incredible. Before we get the show started, I do want to bring somebody up, Mark Chavez, who's in the audience. If you want to bring something up for Paul before we get the movie started. Paul is an artist who lives here in LA, and you can find some of his work from Disco Bloodbath Art online or on sale at Dark Delicacies in Burbank.
Hi everybody. Like he said through the intro, I am an artist here in Hollywood. I do these one-of-a-kind kind of pop pieces, and I don't really sell online. I usually just sell at conventions, but I also do them commissions for certain people in the industry. And I love this image. I always have since I was a kid. It was one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite horror movies growing up. I'm sorry, and I love working with this image as an adult. You guys might have seen this when you came in at the box office, but I wanted to present this to Paul because I really love the movie and I have such great memories of the movie. It's some of you guys may be too young to realize that when VHS movies came out on VHS, they were about $60, $70. I mean, they weren't cheap. And I would get $20 a month in allowance, and I saved for months to get the VHS box. So that's how much I really love the movie. So this is for you. Enjoy it.
This is fabulous. Look at this. 38 years later, and I get this. I mean, I gotta watch Crossing the Street. Thank you so much. This is spectacular.
You're welcome. And one last thing I want to say.
I mean, an original piece of art. Wow, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you know, one thing I really do want to say before I leave is that I met Paul on Wednesday, and for a while, we spoke for a while, and I have to say that I've met a lot of people, and a lot of people have been very nice, but Paul really is a genuinely good person, and not only a talented director, but a good person, so I just wanted to say that. So thank you, Paul.
Well, thank you, and I will end this by saying when I came out here, you can't do it now, when I came out here, I didn't know anything, I didn't know much about movies in '71, but I called up people, and everybody, Dick Donner, there's a list, Jack Starr, everybody was so incredibly nice to me that I thought, listen, I deserve to have a short lifespan if I don't return it, that's all. So thank you very, very much for coming. Thank Armand for doing this. This is a great thing to do, with or without me. Thank you.
I think we all recognize that Jamie Lee Curtis is the queen of the prom, but I have to say, Paul, you are definitely the real prom night king. This crown is for you. Very proudly.
The same guy who got his head cut off in the prom, I had to sit with and hold his hand underneath while we were shooting it because he had epilepsy. So he wore this and he lost his head. I hope I don't.
And one final announcement before we start the movie. The next Shriekfest Presents show was just booked this week. I'm very excited to announce that at the end of the next calendar, so it's going to be a few months away, but Friday, September 7th at midnight, we are screening the new 4K restoration of Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. And so far we have Susie Lanier Bramlett, who was Susan Lanier, who stars as Brenda in the movie. She will be here for a Q&A, but we may have a lot of other guests coming for The Hills Have Eyes as well. And now, enjoy prom night. Thank you.